I know I'm nervous making this one. Well, this is the video that I never wanted to make, but I knew one day I would have to, and I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Seven's gone. He's gone. He passed away Monday, March 13th, after a really bad weekend at the emergency vet. He went in the night of Friday the 10th with fluid in his lungs again, which was just wild because he'd literally just seen the cardiologist that Wednesday. 48 hours earlier, he had x-rays done. He'd been given the all clear. 2 days later, we were right back at the ER, and this time he just didn't bounce back. The medicine really didn't do its thing. They increased the furosemide shot, and that wasn't helping, so then they put him on a furosemide drip, like just a straight up IV right into his little leg. And Saturday morning I got a call from the emergency vet. You know, she explained the situation, how the fluid wasn't clearing this time, and she put the option of euthanasia on the table. I said no because I didn't want to let him go at the emergency vet. Not for nothing, I love them. I love them. I'm eternally grateful to the staff. The building's under construction. One whole wing of the hospital is closed. Everything is crammed into the ER, and it's just chaos back there. You know, they're doing the best they can with what they've got, and the care for the animals is still 100%, but I wouldn't have been able to have any time with him to really say goodbye. There'd be no privacy whatsoever. I'd just be breaking down in the middle of the ER, and he and I had been through too much together, and I owed him a better send-off than that. So I begged them to do what they could to get him stable enough to come home, to come out of the oxygen tent and come home for at least one night. And they let me visit him for about 15 minutes Saturday night, and I went in there, I marched in there, and I just I figured he was probably too tired to deal with English, so I went back to his native language of Japanese, and I yelled at him to get it together in Japanese. I was like, oi, oi, shikari shite, hayaku kaite koi yo. You know, like, get your shit together and come home already. And then the next morning, you know, they had a shift change, and the new vet comes on the next morning. I get a call from her, and she goes, his lungs seem to be clearing. He's breathing better, and we're gonna start taking him off the oxygen to see if he can just breathe on room air. And I'm like, okay, great. Let me, you know, tell me more when you know more. Around 4 o'clock, I get a call, and it's the vet, and she goes, we just did x-rays, and his lungs are clear, and he's completely off the oxygen. You can pick him up in about a half hour. Let me tell you, I had like one shoe on, keys in hand. I'm like half out the door before she even finished her sentence. So I went and got him around 4:30, and I brought him home, and we had a really good night. We had one good last night together because I decided it was time. It was time. Because he had been in the emergency vet previously, like less than 10 days earlier. So if he tanked that quickly in 10 days, I don't know, he could have been good for another month or two, or it could have been another just maybe 2 days before he tanked again. You know, and then we would have been right back in the same situation at the emergency vet, and I don't want to let him go with the emergency vet, and yada, 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 yada. So I brought him home Sunday night. And we had one last good night. And I slept on the floor with him like we used to do in Japan. So this was like the first time, except for like camping and stuff, this was the first time he slept next to me in a couple of years. And it must have been muscle memory, because for a split second there, in that weird hazy sleep but not asleep but not quite awake middle ground, I woke up and I felt like it was like 2010 again, because right there in between my arm and my side was Seven with his chin on my shoulder, just snoring away. That morning, Monday morning, I contacted his vet and they said, yeah, bring him in at 3. So we went to the park in the morning and we went to Starbucks and got a ham and cheese croissant and a puppuccino, and that was that. We came home, hung out for a few hours. It was an absolutely crap day, raining just like it is today, which is pretty fitting for making this video. Somewhere, you know, we were just hanging out. I must have taken literally 500 photos and videos. And somewhere around 1:30-ish, the rain stopped, the clouds broke, and the sun came out. So I let it dry up a little bit, and then around 2:30, I took him back to the park and went for a last walk. I wanted him to just enjoy the sunshine, and he made a last friend on the way out, which was nice. Right to the end, he was old and he was wobbly, but right to the end, he was just a sweet boy. He was just a happy dog, wagging his tail, making friends, trying to talk to, you know, trying to say hi to every dog in the park, just do. And then we went to the vet and he went completely peacefully in my arm. He was so old and his heart was so bad that he didn't even need the final shot, the sedative. It was actually the sedative, the pre-shot that took him out. So yeah, I guess it was his time. And I really think, oh God, my back. It's like a week later and my back still hurts from sleeping on the floor, which is fine by me. I'd do it again. You know, I'd do it again and again and again if I could. So as not to be an entirely depressing video, I'm gonna dig through my old, super old external hard drive and see if I can dig up some old photos, old videos, maybe stuff that nobody's really ever seen. But I wanted to tell 2 stories that were just absolutely the height of comedy as far as I was concerned, and just 100% sum up what kind of a dog Seven was. So we lived in Japan. Once upon a time we lived in Japan, and that, you know, that's where I got him. And if you have no idea how I got Seven, there's a video, I'll put that somewhere up there, and go check that out. I used to have this, I slept on the floor, right, as you do in Japan, because I had just it was a 1-room flat, right, no space for a bed. So I had this red flip out sofa, I'm gonna put that in quotes, but it was like a floor sofa. I would sleep on that. But it was just high enough that Seven was just small enough that he would kind of tumble off it. I hear him running around and with his little nails everywhere, and he's jumping onto the sofa and boing and jumping off and going, just like pinballing all over the apartment. And then I hear whoop. And I'm like, oh, I'm on the computer. And I turn around like, what is going on? There he is, his paws up. And I'm breaking my heart. I'm like, oh my God, because he's my first dog and I have no idea what to do. 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning, because of course it would be, and there are no like 24-hour vets even remotely near me. I don't have a car and I can't find anybody open near me. So I call my then friend and I'm like, please, you've got to find a vet near me. Find somebody, you know, Seven just hurt his leg. So she gets back to me a few minutes later and says, well, there's actually a vet within walking distance, like very, very, very close to you. Probably gonna be like a 20-30 minute walk. You know, just go to the end of the hill and instead of going left for the station, make a right. It's on your right hand side, you'll see it. But they don't open until 9 o'clock. So, you know, I'm online researching, like, what do I do? Should I like, am I supposed to like immobilize the leg, or should I put it up in like a sling or something? Like, I have no idea what to do. And he just kind of, and he just kind of limped off and went to his little pillow cushion bed thingy and curled up and laid down, and that was it. I said, okay. 8:30 rolls around, you know, get dressed, get the keys, get the socks, get his harness, get the bag so I can carry him down the hill. And I'm on the computer double checking the directions, and suddenly I hear, and I'm like, what the heck is that? And I turn around and I see him with his lobster. He spits the lobster, just flings it and chases after, gets it, sends it the opposite side. He goes flying after it. And I'm like, excuse you. An hour and a half ago, you were acting like you were on death's door. So I just kind of cleared my throat, and he stopped and dropped the lobster, remembered he's supposed to be injured, picks up the wrong paw, okay, and starts limping all over the apartment on the wrong paw. And that was when I knew I had gotten a con artist. Okay, second one was right before we moved out to LA. We were supposed to move back to Japan. That fell through. Ended up moving to LA. Before we came out here, I wanted to go all the way out to Montauk to, what is it called? Camp Hero. So I took him out there because, you know, it's good hiking, and that's, it was like one of the inspirations for Stranger Things. You know, go see the ocean in Montauk, the end, right? So I load him up and I bring the bag and everything, and I take him all the way out there. We go marching all over Camp Hero, go see the lighthouse. It was great. It was fun. I decided to stop at the Montauk Brewery on the way back because it's dog friendly. So I brought him in and I'm chatting with the bartender, whatever you want to call her, and we're just hanging out, and she's letting me sample. But I had a couple little tiny samples, and Seven was sitting on the bar stool and he was just totally chill until he wasn't, and suddenly out of nowhere, it was like a cartoon. He just slid down the underside, between the underside of the bar and the stool that he was on. He just perfectly like slow motion slid down the wall of the bar and then just hit the ground. And the bar master, like the brewmaster, comes in and he's like, I hope you're driving because he's cut off. And the whole bar just started laughing, and it was pretty funny. And I've got an excellent picture of him in the ride home. God, he was so pissed off. He was so embarrassed and cranky. I was afraid that he got hurt, and he was just like, I'm like, 70, okay. So I think those two stories 100% encapsulate the kind of dog he was. He was a good boy. He was a unique dog. Even his trainer mentioned to me once that, yeah, he'd never met a dog like Seven with his kind of attitude and personality. He didn't have any mean bones in him. He never barked at another dog. He never fought with another dog. You know, the only time he really barked was if somebody came to the door and knocked, or if there was like a sudden noise, like our upstairs neighbors dropped something, yeah, he'd be like, he had a huge bark. For that tiny little body, he had a huge bark. Delivery guys, people at the door, leaf blowers, and that was pretty much it. But he never met a dog he didn't like. He never met a person he didn't like. Every stranger was just a new friend he hadn't met yet. I hate being the bearer of bad news, but yeah. Unfortunately, my little guy is gone. He gave me 14 wonderful, amazing years. I am so incredibly grateful and thankful, and I really just don't have the word to express how much he meant to me, how much he still means to me, you know. It's breaking my heart, but you know, what is grief but love with nowhere to go? So I guess this is farewell to my best guy. I love you, buddy. Goodbye, Seven.